And we're live here, the Loose Wheel Podcast, episode number 2, season number 1. I'm Andrew. That's Ethan. You want to say something to the people, Ethan?
What's up, people? How we doing?
I hope y'all are doing well. Let's get right into it. Talladega happened. Nothing notable in the truck race happened. But we'll get to that later. Uh, but in Cup racing, it's a great race, I would say. A nice Talladega Super Speedway race. You had big wrecks, great three-wide racing, even four-wide racing at points. I mean, that was a race what Talladega is all about. It's interesting. Ty Gibbs dragging the fuel can on fire down pit road. No loose wheels today, but we did have a loose gas can. So I guess we're on officially the loose gas can podcast this week.
There we go.
But Ryan Blaney getting a win. And his third one at the
And
track.
what was his 100th career start, right?
I think that was last week.
That was last week.
And that was his 300th career start, I think. 100th driver to get the 300th career
100th,
start.
okay, yeah, that's right. That's right.
And that was another photo finish win for Ryan Blaney at Talladega. It's weird that if I had a nickel for every time that happened, it would be weird because I'd have 3 nickels. But yeah, technically it wasn't a photo finish because Harvick got disqualified, who finished second. And as Ryan Blaney's my second favorite driver, as a Ryan Blaney fan, I kind of wanted to see Kevin Harvick win because it's in his final year. I want to see him win once. A couple other notes from the race. Riley Herbst looked terrible in the draft. Brad Keselowski caused another wreck. I mean, he's an aggressive pusher, and I mean, if you're Carson Hocevar is a rookie, and he just found out that Brad's an aggressive pusher, so he's gonna learn more about how to handle that better in future races. Because I do think he's gonna be in Cup next year, according to rumors. But is he ready? We'll see. We'll talk about that in a later episode when that gets announced, because I think will get announced. Do you have anything to add, Ethan?
No, not really. It's playoff racing. That I don't. Nothing else to add. It was crazy stuff going down, but you covered it.
Yeah. In sports car news, I don't know how to read because I thought, oh, the 8 hours of Bahrain is in October when it really is in November. So, well, I mean, the same stuff that we said now will carry over.
Yeah,
so
definitely all still applies.
Yeah, all still applies. And then also in sports car news, Meyer Shank to pause sports car effort after the IMSA race in Petit Le Mans, which is a shame because Meyer Shank has been a staple of IMSA racing for a long time, longer than I can remember. They've always been there, whether in GTP or in GT racing with Acura. It's a shame to see them go because of one guy going rogue at Daytona and not adhering to tire pressures. And the team whistle blew on themselves, which I give them the credit for doing that. But this is basically a culmination of that. As that happened, Acura said, we don't want that to happen. This shouldn't be happening, and gave that GTP car to Wayne Taylor Andretti Racing, which, I mean, I like seeing them increase, but I don't like it at the expense of Shank. This is a team that I'm gonna miss seeing. But the good news for Shank is hopefully that improves their IndyCar team.
It is unfortunate though how one person can ruin everything. Really, it's sad to see. It really is.
Uh, Going over now to Formula E, couple of driver moves. Jahan Daruvala joins Maserati, uh, replacing Eduardo Mortara, uh, who will be going to Mahindra, along with Nick De Vries. And that moves out Lucas Degrassi, who's going to Abt Cupra. I not much to say about these moves. Degrassi's a Formula E. He's a serviceable driver, capable driver, and along with
Breeze, former champion.
yeah, uh, yeah,
You
that is
know,
true. Along with
I
Mortara, I do. Those are guys that should be in Formula E. Uh, De Vries,
it,
former champion, he should be here after, if he's not in Formula One. What were you going to say about De Vries, Ethan?
yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how he bounces back into Formula E after his disaster of an F1 career. Um, I still think he's definitely a good driver.
Mm.
He definitely deserves to be in Formula E. This is a series he knows. This is a series he's done well in before. So hopefully his confidence isn't shaken too much by the whole Red Bull drama, because it would be really nice to see him return strongly to FE.
I'll definitely be rooting for De Vries. He's been rumored to be getting a Toyota World Endurance Championship seat, which I would love to see. There's,
Yeah,
I think two of their drivers at Toyota are kind of weak links. I'm not gonna say who because
you don't want to call him out.
I could because they're still great drivers. They're still
Yeah,
and then we'll see if De Vries does get a Toyota drive. I'll say then. So and then Daruvula, I wonder how he's going to go because his season in F2 this year was I it was not what he was looking for. He underwhelmed me. It'll be interesting to see how he does there.
yeah. I mean, Jehan Jaruvla, I mean, they're all fast drivers. They're all good drivers, but Jehan Jaruvla went from someone who looked like he could potentially be an F1 one day to just never being able to put it all together in Formula Two. Um, it he's been in F2 for quite some time now. Um, I think 2020 was his first season. Now it's 2023. He's 24 years old, just turned 24. So his time in F2 kind of just stalled out. He wasn't going to move up to F1 anymore. So Formula E is an obvious choice for him to go. I do think he'll have success there, but uh, it's just kind of wait and see.
Yep. You want to hit on this next point, Ethan, because this is more your territory.
Yeah, I'll lead this one. So Andretti and Cadillac's bid to join the F1 grid has been accepted by the FIA, which is the governing body of Formula One. Uh, the next step in this process then is for Liberty Media, who owns Formula One, to accept Andretti into F1 on their end. And that is almost certainly going to happen because the FIA and Liberty Media work extremely closely together on F1. So we we are likely going to see Andretti Cadillac join the Formula One grid at some time in the next few years.
I would like to go ahead.
I mean, everything could fall apart, but it's not likely, in my opinion.
Yeah, Andretti is an American company. Liberty, I believe they're based out of Denver, but I do know they're an American company.
Yeah, Liberty Media is an American company.
Yeah, so I would I would assume that the American companies are going to work together after Liberty Media, if they accept it. How many more steps does Andretti have to go through to get on the grid?
So, not entirely sure about that process, to be completely honest. This isn't something that happens very often in Formula One, but I do believe that the next steps would be the teams would have to agree for Andretti to join the grid, and Formula One would have to probably change things around with how revenue is distributed and all that to allow Andretti to join the grid. So not only would the grid now have two more cars going up from 20 to 22, 10 teams to 11, but revenue would be distributed differently. Teams would have different budgets that they would have to work with. So it's a move that affects F1 in more ways than one, and it's a process that is still far from being completed, because even if Andretti does get accepted into Formula One, they're going to have to find personnel, they're going to have to find drivers, they're going to have to build the car, factory, everything. That's not a quick process. It'll still be a few years until Andretti is on the grid, and there are roadblocks that could prevent them from being on the grid. I mean, we've seen it in the past. USGP was, I believe is what they were called, was a team that looked like they were very likely to join the F1 grid. They almost did, and then everything just fell apart. So that could still happen, but you have the Andretti name, the heritage, the proven success in other series. They would bring more money into F1. It seems extremely likely that they would join F1.
I do know that they have started building a factory in I want to say England, and then I think they're expanding their US base in Indiana as well. So because they're not just doing IndyCar, IMSA, they might be going to Le Mans, hopefully, if Honda, Acura let them. They're doing Formula E in some way. I think they're doing Extreme E, which is now becoming Extreme H, V8 supercars. So they're doing a lot.
Yeah. Another thing that I should mention is that the Concord Agreement, which is a three-way deal between the FIA, the Formula One teams, and the commercial rights holders. That agreement is going to expire at the end of 2025 and will need to be renegotiated. And if a team is trying to join F1 during that time period, things could get a little messy, but we don't think it should prevent them from joining.
Yeah, I know you and I both want to see Andretti on the grid. A lot of the
Yeah, for
fans
sure.
want to see Andretti on the grid. We all want to see this happen.
Yeah.
Next thing is an IndyCar, Arrow McLaren, and Rico's Hollinger Racing form an alliance. This is, I think, what we know about this is that one of Who's cars, which have this in the past couple of years, not had much sponsorship, are going to have Arrow McLaren colors and sponsors on the car. And I don't know if this is confirmed or not, but I do think it will be the 77 car of Callum Ilott, who was rumored to go to McLaren in a fourth car. But yeah, I don't think this is performance. I think this is just money. I think I don't know that for sure, but I think it's good for both teams. Arrow McLaren, their sponsors get more airtime, across
Yeah.
4 cars instead of 3. And Juncos gets money so that they're funded and can go into next year, because I don't think either drivers are confirmed yet back, and Kalmaya is confirmed, but there had been rumors saying that he won't be back. But I do, and then there's Agustin Canapino, who impressed me this year, and that his seat is, from what I've heard, depending on the Argentinian economy.
Yeah. I think that this um, alliance does make sense for both teams. Um, like you've been like you've been talking about, Juncos need money. McLaren, Arrow McLaren, they're going to want everything regarding them. They're going to want the brand to be put out there more. So this makes sense to me for both teams. Yeah, and it's not really like a mechanical alliance, I guess you would call it. It is just like they're both calling it a strategic commercial alliance. So that's that really. It makes sense for both to me.
Yeah. Moving on to NASCAR. Kyle Busch after this year is going to be selling his truck team and the all the mechanics that go behind that to Spire Motorsports. Spire Motorsports has been buying up a lot of things. Bought another charter from BJ McLeod recently. So Aspire's just expanding. It is a bit of a surprise seeing Kyle Busch sell his team, because he had built it up, had the employees, because he said his goal is to be racing alongside his son Brexton, not too far down the road, in about 8 years. And we've all probably figured, oh, it'd be at KBM, but maybe he could still start back up KBM, Kyle Busch Motorsports, but it will be harder. Kyle Busch will be still driving in one of the cars. I do believe that Spire's will be a 3-car truck team, or 3-truck team with Purdy in one. The alliance with the Rev Racing will still continue with Nick Sanchez, and a 3rd truck with the all-star truck with Kyle Busch in for 5 races, and maybe other drivers.
Do we know if he's gonna like have a stake in Spire or no?
He's just gonna have an advising role as a truck team.
Okay, yeah, that's surprising to me because I mean, he's not old or anything, but he's getting up there in age. It would make sense that he would want to me at least, it would seem to make more sense that he would want to increase an ownership management style role instead of decrease that. I mean, I'm sure he knows what he's doing and he's doing what's best for him, but it just seems a little, I don't know. I don't fully understand it.
Back, I want to say around 10 years ago, you had Kyle Busch Motorsports, Brad Keselowski's team, and Kevin Harvick Incorporated all in the truck series. Teams that had were founded by Cup drivers, and now we'll have no current Cup driver owning a truck team, which is going to be a little bit weird if I'm not mistaken. I don't think there's anyone still left in that department. Let me fact check myself here. Yeah, because I remember the 19 and 29 of Brad Keselowski racing, that they were forced back in the day.
It's interesting. Definitely interesting.
Yeah, there's no current Cup driver that will be fielding any truck team next year. That's going to be weird to me.
Um, moving on to talking about NASCAR schedule. Um, this year, NASCAR will be returning to the Indianapolis Oval in 2024. I think that's really exciting. I don't know what you think about that, Andrew, but I like that.
And then we'll lump the next 2 points together about the All-Star race continuing at North Wilkesboro in 2024 and Iowa back on the schedule in 2024. I I have mixed opinions on the Indianapolis Oval. It isn't a great racetrack. It's a single file racetrack. It doesn't really race well with NASCAR
That's
racing.
true.
I
I
do
guess for
like,
me, it's more of just like the idea
yeah,
of it.
I do like having a race on the oval. There's nothing really like it. I mean, it's closest track comparison is Pocono, which is a triangle. So it's a different racetrack. I do like that part about it. I don't like the loss of a road course. I really enjoyed the last Indianapolis road course race. I've enjoyed
Yeah,
all the Indianapolis road course races.
that track is a great track.
Yeah.
The road track.
Uh, I really enjoyed the NASCAR Indy doubleheader weekend, which is
Yeah.
gone. I mean, IndyCar shouldn't be. I said my thoughts on it last week about how IndyCar racing before the Xfinity race. I didn't love that part about it, but I did like having NASCAR and IndyCar sharing the same racetrack. Now it's not going to happen this week or this year. I don't think. So I'm gonna miss that part. I do want to see 6 road courses and slash street courses on the year. Uh, and that hopefully frees up a spot for Road America to come back on the schedule. That was better than the Indianapolis road course, and they took it off. I want to see that back. If they don't go to Road America, I'm trying to think of road courses. I mean, NASCAR needs to hit the Ohio market. I would like to see them go to Mid Ohio because that's a good road course. Or if they don't do that, this is a pipe dream. Go to the Cleveland Burke Lakefront Airport. That had for a road course or street course. It was an airport course. You had a big wide straightaways, big wide turns, allowed for huge dive bombs. So creating interesting racing. One of the things I need to do here, especially in the off season, is find an old IndyCar race at that airport just to see what it's all about because everyone is online that I've seen wants it. I want it because it's an airport racetrack. I mean, the closest, well, there's Sebring, which is an airport,
Yeah.
and then there's St. Petersburg, the IndyCar circuit, which is partially on an airport. So I would like to see that back. It's a pipe dream. I would like to see it work. And then, do you have anything else on the Indianapolis Oval?
No, not really. I will echo your statements though on the doubleheader with IndyCar. That's just a fun weekend. Like it's unfortunate to see that go, but neither series. There shouldn't be like a second fiddle, you know. So I kind of get it.
All-Star Race continuing at North Wilkesboro in 2024. We all, it was rumored that was going to be a points race. The repaving North Wilkesboro. So I like having North Wilkesboro back. Great move on NASCAR. I do think it should be an All-Star Race again though, because they're repaving it. Let's see how the racing is on this new surface before we actually put it on the schedule. That's why I like having an All-Star Race here. And hopefully in 2025, this is another pipe dream for me. bring back the Rock, Rockingham Speedway as the All-Star race. They've been there. We've brought back North Wilkesboro. Let's go bring back the Rock.
Are you gonna start like petition?
Well, that's basically kind of how North Wilkesboro was brought back with the Save the Speedway Twitter account and Dale Jr. and company cleaning up the track so they could scan a fry racing.
That's cool.
That's cool how it's came back, and I do want to see here for years to come. And the third point is Iowa on the schedule in 2024. This is something I'm super pumped about. Great racing in IndyCar, great racing in the Xfinity Series and Truck Series. You can run on the bottom, you can run all the way up top, and a short track, kind of like Richmond, but better, a little bit longer. This was a track that I loved racing on NASCAR Heat 4, which is saying something because it's NASCAR Heat 4. I think that was one of my favorite tracks. I love this track. I've been wanting to see this since like 2018. I think with IndyCar success at the track, there's no reason why NASCAR shouldn't be a success at the track.
I don't know if it was NASCAR Heat 4. It might have been, but one of those NASCAR games I remember I also really liked driving on Iowa. It's fun track in the games.
And
yeah, cool for on the schedule.
And also, apparently, the full schedule is supposed to release tomorrow, Wednesday. We record this on Tuesday, so we'll look for that as a talking point for next week's podcast. Moving on, Ryan Preece back at Stuart Haas Racing in 2024, and Harrison Burton back at Wood Brothers Racing for 2024. Both of these drivers bring money, so it makes sense for both of them to stay. Both of them had been disappointing in their time there, and both their cars. I think Preece is a little bit more on a colder seat than Harrison Burton, but I think it's good for both teams to bring back their driver, bring back consistency, see if they can improve a little bit. But I do look for Harrison Burton to be on a hot seat for in 2025.
Do you want to get into the fight?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So you take it away.
I was watching this race live, and it was an interesting race regardless. So Nick Sanchez versus Matt Crafton. So Nick Sanchez was trying to pass Matt Crafton. He went to the middle, kind of forced his way into a lane that really wasn't there, caused a big Talladega wreck. Sanchez took blame for the wreck. And then Matt Crafton, when he was done, when he got wrecked, he drove into his pit, and Sanchez's pit right next to him. So he kind of parked it in the middle. And then when he climbed out, he kind of yelled at the crew. And then Sanchez was able to continue after the race. Matt Crafton was in street clothes because that's important. And then there was a fight between them. Some say it was a sucker punch by Crafton. Others are not saying that. So, and then Sanchez got pulled away by another driver, Corey Roper, and blood all over Sanchez's face. And Roper was just there to return equipment to another team, and he saw two guys on the ground. He said, "Oh, I just want to break up a fight because this is not something I want to see." And he's friendly with both drivers too. I mean, I'm gonna give the winner of this fight was Corey Roper. He also stated that his team's gonna be racing at Homestead, but they won't have enough funding to Phoenix. Someone should go sponsor him for Phoenix. Give him some funding, like some fighting company or boxing company or.
That'd be hilarious. Imagine he gets sponsored by like UFC. Like that's crazy.
I mean, we've already had Josh Williams park it on the straightaway in Atlanta and get sponsored by a parking system company. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
And then after the fight, Nick Sanchez said, "I'm going to effing kill you at Homestead. You've effed with the wrong guy, mother effer. It's on now." So
Yeah.
I mean, we might see some retaliation in Miami. And then after Sanchez went to the infield care center, he said Crafton tapped him on the back and then just cheap shotted him into the face. And then Crafton says there was words spoke and Sanchez instigated the fight. And the penalties were Crafton fined 25,000, 5,000 for Nick Sanchez, and Nick Sanchez's dad, who threw punches, got suspended for the rest of the year.
What a mess.
What a mess is right. We don't know what happened fully, so I'm not going to say anything. But I don't blame Nick Sanchez's dad. When your 22-year-old kid is getting beat up by a 46-year-old man, if I'm the dad, I don't care how strong I am. I'm getting in there to protect my kid. I don't want to see that happen to my kid. So it's understandable.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens at Homestead. I do think, well, if Nick Sanchez said it was true, I'm not saying it is, Crafton should be suspended. I'm just saying if that's true, he was sucker punched, he should be suspended. That Crafton should be suspended.
Yeah.
And besides, Sanchez is a playoff driver, Crafton's not. We might see some, honestly, we could see retaliation on either side. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
All right.
Do we want to get into the previews?
Yeah. So we got the Charlotte Roval, got Xfinity and Cup. Will Hartburn turn strike again?
Is that a question for me?
That's a question for both of us.
Oh.
I'll let you start.
Sorry, what was your question?
Will Hartburn turn strike again? Will there be a big wreck there?
I'll go with yes. History repeating itself, sure.
I'm in agreement because they are changing the restart to instead of driving on the oval, they do take the chicane on the restart. That's something interesting. And I also I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but it is a thing. And I also don't like how they're bringing stage yellows back. Boo! I liked Indianapolis, how the race played out. Watkins Glen wasn't as good, but I do like how it played out. I don't remember Sonoma, and Circuit of the Americas was too long to remember. So yeah, I will say Indianapolis with just the one caution, it felt great. It felt great as a fan.
Yeah. Do we want to do our picks?
Let me look at my phone. Just get a look at the playoffs for the Xfinity Series here, because right now going into the cutoff I don't know if it's a cutoff race or not. Let me check the schedule because the NASCAR app is weird on here. So yes, it is a cutoff race. I do believe Allgaier and Nemechek have clinched. Cole Custer is 63 up. Austin Hill is 44 up. Chandler Smith is 32 up. Sammy Smith is 18 up. Sheldon Creed is 9 up. Daniel Hemrick 1 up. Parker Kligerman 1 down. Jeb Burton 19 down. Josh Berry 27 down, and Sam Mayer 34 down. So yeah, I mean, Parker Kligerman's a good road course racer, and Sam Mayer has won 2 of the road course races this season. So I'd look at those guys as the 2 most likely to go up. Going back is Daniel Hemrick, not really known for his road courses, and I would say Chandler Smith, even though he's 32 up, I do expect he'll uh, fall back a little bit. I don't know if he'll fall back out of the cut line, but uh, that's what I'm thinking. And do you have anything else to echo? Okay.
No, I don't really have any crazy insight on the Xfinity series. Um, you know, the thing with road courses in NASCAR is, you don't, it's not, it might not be your traditional winner, right? So we'll see who it is, but yeah,
All right.
that's all I have to say.
I'll go first here since I'm the resident NASCAR fan. I do have an advantage. I'll be going with a non-traditional pick. This is my driver's first start of the year. He's a known road course ringer. He's won some road courses at some road courses back to the past. Might be his final start in NASCAR. I'm a big fan of this driver. I'm taking Boris Said to win. Ethan, what about you?
Okay. I will take Sam Mayer because Road America win second at Indy Road Course. Seems like about good a bet as any.
Yeah, don't forget he won Watkins Glen too.
Watkins Glen winner too. There you go.
Right.
So he only has 2 wins this year, both at road courses. So
and I do come into the this week with 6 points, 1 for Brett Holmes beating Christian Eckes, and 5 for Ryan Blaney winning. Charlotte Cup race. I just checked the weather for Charlotte. There is no rain on Sunday. Slight chance of rain on Saturday. I'm hoping it rains. Bring back that one race from like 2019, that monsoon race. That was one of the funnest NASCAR races ever. That's one of my all-time favorites. But
I was telling you that when it comes to NASCAR in the rain, the only thing I can think of is Juan Pablo Montoya crashing into that jet dryer.
Yeah,
that memory from my childhood has been seared into my brain.
yes, that was a. We could do an entire podcast on that race and all the stuff that happened in that race. That was one of the best races of all time, in my opinion. So Charlotte road course. Let me look at the point. This is a cutoff race for the NASCAR Cup Series.
Yes.
Guys trying to stay on or in the playoffs. You have Byron and Blaney have advanced. Hamlin pretty safe at +50. Then you got Bell +22, Buscher +19, Martin Truex Jr. +17, Kyle Larson +15, Brad Keselowski only 2 points ahead of the cut line, where that Tyler Reddick is 2 back, Bubba Wallace is 9 back, Ross Chastain 10 back, and Kyle Busch 26 points back. Looking at the list, Ross Chastain's a decent road course racer, so along with Kyle Busch. Bubba Wallace not so good at road course racing. Tyler Reddick, good road course racer. He won COTA earlier this year. Expect him to move forward. A couple guys I'm looking at dropping back. Brad Keselowski, and I do think Chris Buescher is another road course. He's decent at road course, but not really the Charlotte Roval. So I do think he'll drop back.
getting into the picks. Do you want to go first or should I?
I'll go first. I'm the resident NASCAR fan here, so I do have an advantage. I forgot who I wrote down here, so that might be a problem. Oh yeah, this guy hasn't won yet this year. I felt a lot of pain being a fan of his this year.
Oh,
He has a great road course prowess. He's won here a couple times, as it's been a while, but I do think he'll win. Get his first one of the year, Chase Elliott. I'll be happy.
that's a good pick. I was thinking the same thing.
We can pick the same thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say Chase Elliott. He's due for a win, and yeah, he's just a great road course
Hmm.
racer. He's great, especially at the Roval. It makes sense for him to win the race. Maybe play spoiler for someone who is in the playoffs.
Mhm. All right, Ethan, Qatar, we got the sprint and the main. You can take the lead here on this one.
All right, so for Qatar, it is um, a track that should be pretty easy on tires. It's also a track that has a very long straightaway. So this doesn't really matter for P1 because P1 is going to be Max Verstappen because he's insane. But for P2, due to the superior engine and the fact that tires shouldn't really be an issue, I'm going to go with a Ferrari finishing second in the sprint behind Max Verstappen, and that's going to be Carlos Sainz.
Interesting. I also have Verstappen winning the sprint.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not much to say there. You can go ahead, type Carlos Sainz, and I see you're on the document. I am not going a Ferrari. I am going the other Bull driver, Sergio Perez. I don't know why, but
Okay.
I do think it's a decent pick.
He had one of the worst races ever in, that's an exaggeration, but he had a terrible race in Japan. He will be looking to bounce back big in Qatar, and the P2 in the sprint would definitely be that.
Yeah.
It would be what he's looking for sure. Onto the main race, obviously, same track. So I already said, Max Verstappen. He's Max Verstappen. He's going to win the race. And so P2, which is like getting P1 nowadays, hard to say. Red Bull second driver Sergio Perez, one of the Ferraris, one of the McLarens. I just think McLaren's form has been so strong lately. They've been amazing. Both drivers are on the top of their game right now. I think that they'll be able to, over the long full race, maybe make up for maybe not being able to compete on pure power with maybe a better strategy or something. But I don't know. McLaren's just kind of magical right now. I'm going to go Lando Norris for another P2.
I liked what you said about Carlos Sainz earlier, and used my pick to finish second. I do think
Yes.
I'm. It's maybe a hot
like
take,
that.
but I do think Sainz. I'd rather have Sainz on my Formula One team than Charles Leclerc.
I think that is an unpopular opinion. I also think maybe it shouldn't be so unpopular. I think that Charles is maybe has more raw talent. He probably has more potential, but Sainz just kind of goes out there and does what needs to be done. It's definitely a conversation which one is better. And I think that a lot of people not too long ago would have completely dismissed that. I don't think it's dismissible. I think it's definitely a conversation.
I've honestly had that take since 21. So,
Okay, yeah,
and they don't call him the smooth operator for nothing.
that is true. He's the smooth operator.
So we
That,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. Okay.
You.
That about does it for this week's episode, unless there's anything else you would like to add, Andrew.
I've got a question. How many stops
Okay.
this week in the Formula One race? Just one?
Um, Hard to say until the teams get out there, I guess. I think there will probably be some teams that make it a one stop. Maybe a two stop back in 2021 when they last raced at Qatar. What was it?
Sorry for putting you on the spot. I'm
Okay.
curious. I'm For those who don't know, I'm come from a more NASCAR, IndyCar base, small knowledge of Formula One, Formula E, and the Formula Feeder Series. I'm starting to get into sports car racing. Ethan's a resident Formula One fan here.
I don't remember off the top of my head. F1's only raced there one time
Yeah.
in the past. This is going to be their second race at
Mhm.
Qatar, and I think eventually they're not even going to race at this track in Qatar because they do have a 10-year deal to race in Qatar, but eventually it will be a street circuit in Qatar is what it's supposed to be anyway. But I'm
Had
looking
forgot about that.
I'm looking at the pit stop summary from uh, last 2021. It There was some split strategy, but yeah, two stop probably.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Unless you're Max Verstappen and you can make it a three stop because you can pit for tires at the end and get the fastest lap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, because Max Verstappen.
All right. Uh, Thank you everyone for tuning in. You have anything else to add, Ethan?
No, check back in.
Yeah.
There might not be an episode
Uh,
next week, but certainly the week after.
mhm.
So make sure to subscribe and
Yeah.
check back.
Stay tuned. If we don't do one next week, we'll have our picks, just not on a video, but
Yeah.
we will have picks, and we'll go over all the news and stuff. So that we missed.
Yeah.
We'll lightning round it.
Yeah.
All right.
And on that note, goodbye.
Goodbye.